so we can send you a link to it later. Right, so first off, I'm going to play you a short video which gives an overview of the product acceptance process. Then I'll run you through a few slides, sort of giving you an overview of some of our achievements and recently and changes to the process and the system we use, and then sort of open it up for a bit of a Q&A session and sort of get some feedback from yourselves regarding sort of good and bad experiences that you've had with the process. And after this, we intend to visit a number of yourselves so we can go into a bit more detail around, you know, the process and your products and how best to navigate the process. You know, obviously there's a lot of people on the call, so we're unlikely to be able to visit everybody physically. So I'll probably set up some sort of one-to-one calls also, if need be. Okay, so I shall start off by playing the video. Hopefully the tech allows everybody to be able to hear.
We've not got any sound there, Roger.
Hold on. Do it.
Product acceptance was introduced in 1994 to provide assurance that products accepted for use on or about the UK rail infrastructure are safe, compatible, reliable, fit for purpose, and do not export unacceptable risks to the operational infrastructure. The product acceptance process helps mitigate the risks associated with the installation or use of products and systems on the infrastructure by making sure that they comply with the requirements of technical standards, specifications, and legislation. Critical products that require product acceptance are referred to as controlled products, whereas products that do not require approval are referred to as uncontrolled products. A list of categories of items that typically fall within these definitions can be found in our guidance documentation. The product acceptance process is applicable to the introduction of new or modified products and systems that may affect the operational infrastructure, a change of application or change in operational environment for a controlled critical product, a change of manufacturer or manufacturing location of a controlled critical product, the installation of a product owned by another duty holder on or about the infrastructure where there may be issues of compatibility with our infrastructure. Items that require product acceptance should, where relevant, align with the rail technical strategy and will have been evaluated by the applicant against the rail industry readiness levels, or RIRLs, to demonstrate that technology readiness levels up to and including TRL 6 have been completed. Reliability readiness levels up to and including RRL 7 have been completed, as outlined in Design for Reliability Standard NR L2 RSE 0005. Only the technology and reliability levels within the RIRLs apply to items progressing through product acceptance and design for reliability. When assessing a product's alignment with a matrix, you can only have reached a RIRL if you have met the requirements of both the TRLs and RRLs up to that point. Responsibilities. Product acceptance is managed by a centrally based team who are responsible for administering the process in accordance with the standard NR L2 RSE 10005 and for engaging with all stakeholders so that products are progressed as efficiently as possible. Other stakeholders involved with the end-to-end process are the applicant, who is normally from a Network Rail route or region, acts in a sponsorship capacity and demonstrates a business need for the product or change. The applicant is accountable for liaising with and requesting evidence from manufacturers or suppliers against technical acceptance requirements set by the lead reviewer. Lead reviewers are competent Network Rail or independent engineers who set the technical acceptance requirements, path through the FR if required, assess responses to the requirements, and recommend acceptance of the product. The Network Technical Head of Asset Discipline, or Delegate, endorses the approval of products for use on the operational infrastructure. The Route Services Catalogue Management Team are responsible for the allocation of PADS catalogue numbers. Route Services Category Managers are responsible for reviewing applications for alignment with commercial category strategy. Regions and Capital Delivery are responsible for supporting trials on the infrastructure. Process. The process has 4 stages: application, assessment, operational trial if required, and full acceptance. An application is submitted via our online form from or on behalf of a suitable internal sponsoring applicant who wishes to use or purchase the equipment. Applications are required for new items and changes to existing controlled products. The Product Acceptance Team will review the initial application within 5 working days to make sure that all the required information has been submitted, confirm whether product acceptance is required, and seek clarification from the applicant that the product has completed the required TRL and RRL. If the design for reliability requirements of completing RRL 7 for trial product acceptance or RRL 10 for full product acceptance have not been met, this will delay the time taken to approve the product. In these cases, the application may need to be submitted as a DFR inquiry to gain early engagement with the lead reviewer, clarification of the path through the DFR process, and awareness of the requirements for DFR and product acceptance. The Product Acceptance Team will allocate a Product Acceptance Coordinator for each application, who will book the application into our system and be the point of contact during the process. The Product Acceptance Coordinator will pass the application to the relevant asset owning engineering team so that they can review against engineering strategy and assign a lead reviewer to it. Route Services are also sent a copy of applications to assess against commercial strategy. Assessment. The lead reviewer reviews the application and sets generic and product-specific technical requirements, as required by relevant company and industry standards, specifications, and legislation. The list of requirements will be sent to the sponsoring applicant so that they can liaise with the manufacturer or supplier and obtain evidence to meet the requirements. The lead reviewer will review all received requested evidence and determine if trial or full acceptance can be granted. Failure to provide all requested relevant information is likely to cause a delay of the approval of the product or system. Operational trial. If an operational trial is required, the lead reviewer will provide a time-limited trial certificate, which includes trial conditions that need to be met before full acceptance is granted. Trial certificates are endorsed by the relevant network technical head and must have been issued before commencement of any trial. The Product Acceptance Team will distribute the trial certificate to all relevant stakeholders. The applicant will coordinate the trial and obtain the evidence from the manufacturer or supplier to meet the trial conditions. Trials may be limited in scope to specific projects or geographic areas. full acceptance. When all technical, trial and any DFR requirements have been met, the lead reviewer will recommend full acceptance. A full certificate will then be endorsed by the relevant network technical head for distribution by the product acceptance team to all relevant stakeholders for onward distribution and briefing. The process is then complete. Hints and tips. There are guidance notes and a frequently asked questions document linked to the application, which provide process guidance and examples of items that fall within the scope of the process. It is recommended that all applicants read the guidance before applying. When a product that you wish to use or install has been identified, it is advisable to engage early with us so that we can assess the requirements for product acceptance and design for reliability, and provide guidance on the best route to achieving approval. To reduce the timescales and avoid delay, it is important to submit all technical and any required DFR evidence as quickly as possible. For questions relating to the product acceptance process or in relation to any technical requirements, please contact prodac@networkrail.co.uk.
Okay, thanks for watching that. I'll now run you through a few slides going into a bit more detail about some of the areas. So questions we get asked mostly is what does or doesn't fall within the scope of the process. And this gives you an overview of the areas where items do need product acceptance. So new or modified controlled product. So we're looking at items used on the operational infrastructure and they're deemed controlled products. A change of application of a controlled product. So if you have a product that's already approved and you need to use it in a different way or use it in a different sort of geographic location, or say it's approved for use in OLE areas and you wish to use it in third or fourth rail areas, and that's deemed as a change. So there's all manner of changes that require an application to come in so that we can assess the change and determine if any additional risks are associated with it and whether any new technical requirements need to be met. And the areas that fall within the scope of our process are electrification, so that's both distribution and overhead line, signalling, plant, telecoms, track and switches and crossings, and level crossings. Probably more interested to a lot of people is what falls outside the scope of the process. This gives a bit of an overview of that. So low risk items such as PPE, boundary fences, they fall outside the process. Civils assets fall outside the process because they're approved via the Network Rail Civils Design process, and there's a suite of standards that look after that. Rolling stock, we don't approve rolling stock, and well, it's not entirely true. We have our yellow measurement trains and we approve equipment that goes on those, but apart from that, we don't approve actual rolling stock owned by the TOCs. Most items within the station sort of concourse environment don't require product acceptance because they're not linked to the operational infrastructure. So all of your sort of display screens and escalators and lifts and station clocks and all those sort of items don't fall within the scope of the process unless they're within what we call category 12 subsurface stations. And we look at those because there's additional fire safety risks associated with those assets. And we don't get involved with supplier accreditation because the industry risk scheme looks after that. We have various guidance notes, as the video mentioned. One of them is quite a long list of items or categories of items which basically tell you whether they require acceptance or not. And those that are listed as controlled, as mentioned earlier, all require product acceptance. Those that are listed as uncontrolled do not require acceptance, but we have a third category as well, controlled limited criticality. Now, they do not need to be assessed in relation to any network rail specifications or standards, but we need evidence that they meet sort of British standards. And once we've received that evidence, that's all we need. Most items require, well, virtually all items that require product acceptance also require design for reliability. And I say it's a very long document, and it doesn't cover all possible variations and categories of items, because we do get a lot of new innovations that we've possibly not seen before. So we need the expertise of our network technical head teams to assess the risks associated with those and determine whether they need acceptance or not. As the video said, again, we've got lots of guidance documentation attached to the application form. We've got quite a lengthy frequently asked questions document, which we've collated after many years of getting asked questions, and we'll add to that as time goes on. But as I say, there's quite a lot, and it doesn't just cover product acceptance. It covers design for reliability, it covers standards, it covers catalog management, a whole host. At the end of the process, if you've navigate the process before, you'll be aware that you receive a product acceptance certificate, and this includes all the details such as the scope of the approval, any terms and conditions that apply to the item, list of configuration that makes up the actual product. So it might be a generator or something, but it's possible that there's a lot of items within that we need to add a catalog number for, so that somebody can purchase it separately. And as I said before, if there's a change to a certificate, basically that means we require a new change request application. Here's an overview of some sort of key recent objectives and achievements. We've developed a new portal which went live just under a year ago, and the idea behind adopting a new portal was to make the workflow more fluid and electronic. So when items come into the process, they automatically go to the stakeholders in turn, and as soon as somebody's finished a task, they go on to the next stakeholder. But also we was aware that the old system didn't really provide much in the way of confirmation of where items were in the process. So within the new process, we've included some automatic emails that go out to both the sponsor and the manufacturers at certain points in the process, explaining where they are in the process and what the next steps are. We've also provided a sponsor's guidance note. Now we've had over the last year or so a problem with various sponsors either leaving the business or moving to new roles. So we've captured the requirements as per the product acceptance standard into one guidance note to basically detail the roles and responsibility of the sponsor. And, some of those responsibilities include making sure that, if they move elsewhere, that the product is handed over to somebody else within their organisation. And that guidance note is now published and attached to the Network Rail literature on the website and also the application form. And another recent change over the last couple of weeks is we've included within that web space details of an escalation route. And this is designed for those people who are having problems. Now, it's not sort of an avenue to sort of contact straight away, because the first port of contact should be the sponsor. So the sponsor's main role in the process is to act as act in the middle between the manufacturer and the engineering function that sets the requirements. So if anybody's having problems getting hold of their sponsor, not heard from them or whatever, this is a new route where you can submit a query via this escalation route, go to a central email box, and we'll look at it and take it forward, raise it up through whoever we need to discuss to get it moving again. Over the recent times, we've had a steady decrease in the turnaround times of product acceptance applications. At the moment, 82% of requests are being certified within 40 working days, and we've got a current target of 85%. This gives you an idea of the work bank split between our engineering areas. So as you'll see here, the vast majority of items that come in are related to electrification, distribution and signalling. So it's 28% for electrification, distribution, 25% for signalling. Then there's a fair chunk for track, S&C and level crossings, and then not so many for plant and contact systems. The reason why we don't have that many plant is because most of the plant applications are dealt with by plant assessment bodies who undertake the role of the lead reviewer on our behalf. And this gives you an idea of the number of applications that we've received in the last year and where they are. So we receive somewhere in the region of between 500 and 600 applications a year. And currently, 79% of those have been concluded and 21% are still live. And they're usually live because we're still awaiting sort of response to technical requirements, or there's a lot of evidence that needs to be assessed by our engineers. And this gives you an idea of the actions of all those 116 that are live at the moment. Currently, there are 53 actions internally and 63 actions externally. And this gives an overview of how many certificates we issue per period by engineering asset area. So we average somewhere between 30 and 45 applications a period, or certificates issued rather. And we receive somewhere in the region of 30 applications a period. And this, again, as per the tips on the video, sort of reminder to, if you can, read all the guidance on the application page, because there's a lot of good guidance there that should answer your questions. Liaise with your sponsor to obtain status updates and technical requirements. So if your sponsor has received the technical requirements and you've got a notification telling you so, and you've not received them, please contact your sponsor first. But if you don't, if you're not able to make contact, you can contact us or use the escalation route. Provide a response to any technical requirements or trial requirements as soon as possible. Trial certificates tend to have a duration of about a year on them, but that doesn't mean that the trial needs to take a year. If you can meet the technical requirements in 2 weeks, then please submit all the evidence, and it can then move to full acceptance. And contact us in the first instance if you have any queries. And I think that's it. Okay, so hopefully you found that useful. I'll open up for some questions.
Do you want to stop sharing screen? Then we can see you.
Yep.
Okay, so we've now got an open Q&A session for anybody on the call to grill Roger as they see fit on the product acceptance process. As Roger mentioned at the start of the call, we'll be looking for people in supply chain and carrying out a series of one-to-one meetings following this, but it'll be a first come, first served basis because we've got limited capacity, obviously. Some of those will involve site visits where possible. And we're planning one-to-one so that you can really get into the nitty-gritty about the commercials of your particular product without potential competitors on the call, for example. So I see Paul Helks has his hand up. Paul?
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, thanks, Roger. Yeah, it's informative. It's a bit of a tricky, the first one. Plant acceptance across network has recently got a lot of interest because of historic products that are out there that don't have product acceptance and now do require product acceptance. Do you know if there's any update that's to be published or broadcasted on that subject?
I'm not aware of anything at the moment, but I can take that up with Jordan Skay, the network technical head.
Yeah, he's aware of it. It's just I think most plant hirers across the UK are affected in some way or another, I know he's not long been in post, but yeah, if we could get some feedback on that, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Who we got next? David? David Clark?
Hi, Roger. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Thanks very much for that. My question is a fairly straightforward one. Is you need a sponsor in order to go forward with product acceptance. Are there any tips about how to find a sponsor? Because I think that's one of the things that we sometimes hear from members, that either it's difficult to find a sponsor or perhaps in retrospect they've not got the right sponsor.
Yeah, it's an age-old concern, that one is, and yeah, we understand the problem people have getting sponsorship. I mean, if you've got any kind of link, any sort of individual within Network Rail that you liaise with regularly, then they are possibly a good first port of call to start the ball rolling, especially if they're within our regions. And another way people tend to find sponsorship is if they're involved with someone like a tier one contracting organisation who are dealing with, working on some Network Rail projects. They've usually got some names that they can, provide. Another good, I mean, people tend to get a lot of interest at events such as Rail Live and other events where Network Rail sort of regional and project people attend, you know, and it's a good way to showcase, you know, that whole army of people in sort of yellow, orange high-vis, your wares. You can contact my team, and if we're aware of somebody that's kind of looking for something in that area, we can do a bit of digging. We've had a problem with that more recently than we've had in the past due to reorganisations and people leaving the business. And, you know, so we have sort of individuals, if we go into our system and see who's dealt with a similar item before, we can contact those. But a lot of the time in recent times, we've tried to contact those and we've got a sort of, this person's left the business, which gives a bit of a dead end, but we can certainly push it forward. And we're also in discussion at the minute with our sort of route asset managers in the regions to try to establish if there's anybody within those areas that can act as a kind of filter middle person that we can send technologies to and find out whether there's actually anybody within their organization that's looking for those kind of solutions, or, you know, potentially needs one in the future, or whatever. So hopefully that will sort of garner some results.
Yeah, thank you. That latter approach sounds a good, you know, a promising one to have a, you know, for you to have a go-to person within the region. That sounds helpful. So I think, to summarize, if you don't know, if as a supplier you don't know the right person to start with, then potentially they could contact you and your team, and you might be able to find a contact through hopefully your regional contacts that you're establishing.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you. I'll hand back to Sam. I think we've got another question hand up.
Yes, Andrew Hurst.
Thanks. Just as a follow-up from that, can someone be a sponsor from the Network Rail Aspro team, i.e. they're probably a consultant or whatever acting on behalf of Network Rail?
We do have some individuals that are sort of embedded within, you know, projects that are not, you know, actually Network Rail employees, but they're actually working with the project. And yes, we have actually utilised that resource in the past. So,
okay, that is possible then.
Yeah, it depends who they are really and how well involved they are. And obviously, you know, we'd like to make sure that they understand the responsibilities of sponsoring a product, and it's not sort of just adding your name to a piece of paper. It's, you know, they've got to be responsible for collating that information and liaison with the manufacturer, and also, you know, if a operational trial is required, they've got to be involved with, you know, managing, setting that up and collating the results from the trial.
Because obviously the issue with that is if they are engaged in an Aspro role, probably on a sort of a fixed budget contract or whatever, they don't have that incentive, because that's suddenly an extra over on top of them. So you've got a blocker there potentially. So what would you do in that instance?
We'd like always, we'd have a discussion with whoever the project was, determine the best individual suited for it.
Okay, so escalate it, or perhaps come to you guys and have a chat.
Yeah.
Excellent. And just as a second thing aside, the KPIs you publish with what you've obviously approved per month, do you publish that as in what the products are? Because it certainly would be interesting to see what is new and becoming available.
Yeah.
Use.
Currently, the only place where we publish it is in the Rail Infrastructure magazine. Don't know if you've received that.
No.
But the list, yeah, I mean, I can send over details of, the email address of for the magazine if anybody wants to get on the distribution list of that. But every issue it lists every item, whether it was a change or a new item that gets approved each period.
Yeah, that would be useful, because obviously, it could generate more innovation into the industry. And obviously we've got a big issue with trying to drive down costs. So if new things are available we can use, we need to know about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously PadsNet is the database that includes everything that's been approved, but it's not the easiest thing to search. So, but there again, if you are trying to find something in PadsNet and have a problem, let us know, because our catalog management team can generally find stuff that nobody else can in there.
Is that email newsletter magazine available to supply chain as well, or is that just internal Network Rail?
It's not an internal, it's an external publication.
Wonderful. So if we get the link to that, I'll send it around to everybody on the call after the call, along with the video recording.
They don't at this point in time have an electronic version of it. It's a literal paper, magazine that comes through your post. But it's very useful, and we've also in the past included some updates on product acceptance, and I noticed Kevin Raymond's on the call, and as Kevin will tell you, he's worked with them for a while, and there's been a series within that detailing design for reliability.
David, I see you've got your hand up again.
I'm trying to find the mute button. Yeah, just to say, I mean, we get a copy of Rail Infrastructure magazine in the office, so it's it's one of the quite a few industry commercial magazines. Obviously focuses on infrastructure, so I'll try and find the details of it to post in the chat. I'm sure they'll be delighted if they get more subscribers. There it is. Well done. I knew we got it in the office. That's the one. But I just wonder, Roger, one of the things that we might think about going forward is, if it was helpful, picking up the point that was just made about it being a useful list, we'd be happy to publish it as well. We could put it on our website as a means of getting out there the recent publications.
Yep, that'd be good. I say, and any other publications we could get into, and basically anywhere where we can provide sight of it for people, that'd be great. There's another hand up. I can't see who's.
Yes, it's my hand. Hi, Roger. My name's Greg. Thanks for putting on this meeting and for putting on that presentation. It was really helpful. My question is that, given that the vast majority of our company's products were first designed many years ago, and we have worked under the premise of having grandfather rights on these products, if we were to hypothetically move premises and completely move the manufacturing site, would we need to produce manufacturing process and installation FMEAs as per the readiness levels on all of these historical products?
If somebody changes premises, we have in our standard, we call clause 12, and there's a list of requirements that you need to meet within that clause. And that's, it doesn't require an application form, but it requires sort of written evidence that that nothing's changed, or if something has changed, what's been done to make sure that we're getting exactly the same as we previously got.
Yes. Okay.
But
that's really helpful.
If you look at also the design for reliability standard, there's a number of requirements within that for changing premises, and I'm sure Kevin can provide you a bit more detail of those.
Yes, the path for moving premises is a very cut down version of design for reliability, because it when somebody moves premises, you're not adding to the design risk. You're not actually changing the design of it. So all of the bits of the DFR process related to designing the product aren't applicable in those situations, which is most of it. But it does, as you say, focus upon the risk, which is the fact that you're going to manufacture it somewhere else, or you could potentially be manufacturing it differently, or some of the equipment for manufacturing it might have been damaged. So yes, those are the actual bits it focuses upon, making sure you have an updated manufacturing process, and that you have done an FMEA on that to think about what could go wrong with the manufacturing side of it. So that is the bit that it focuses on, the cut down steps you use when you move premises.
Okay, that makes total sense. Thank you, Kevin. Thanks, Roger.
Yeah, on the subject of grandfather rights, if grandfather rights remain valid unless you change the product or the way it's, if you're going to use it in a different way than it's ever been used, then it needs to come into product acceptance, and it in effect becomes a new item. It's not a change because it's never been in product acceptance before.
Okay. Okay, thanks, guys.
Okay. Jane, I can see a hand up, but I can't see a name.
That'll be me, Roger, I think.
Yeah, my screen's frozen, so I can't see which hand is next. But whoever's piping up, please go ahead.
Okay. So Chris Brown, everybody, if you can see me. So Roger, I'm going to put you on the spot. Apologies, by the way, I'm slightly late to the call. I was on another meeting, so you may have covered this already. But obviously, you mentioned PadsNet there as a historic user of PadsNet, and as I'm sure many of us are on the call. One thing's very relevant and prevalent most of the point is that it's not really changed a dramatic amount, if at all, realistically, over its history. What calls are in place and discussions are in place at this point to upgrade and improve PadsNet with Serco, if anything?
I'm not aware of any recent discussion. Obviously, Root Services are the organisation that, on our side, sort of manages the input of items into that system. So we've, as sure you can remember, we've got what we call a catalogue management team, and everything that's approved, they look at on a weekly basis and then load it into PadsNet and the internal Network Rail iStore system. But as I say, I'm not aware of any recent changes or discussion with Serco in relation to making any changes. I know at one point we were looking at sort of replacing it with an internal new model, but I don't think that went very far. I've actually got a meeting with the catalogue management team tomorrow, so I can table that question for you.
Yeah, that'd be great, Roger. Say, because I know I think we talked about it years ago, and ultimately nothing's changed. The user interface is obviously, by today's standards, even by yesterday's standards, is pretty poor. But by today's standards is what I've described probably as shocking. So yeah, it'd be very handy, I think, especially the annual fees. I'm sure that I'll pay for that service. It'd be, if maybe we could look to improve it. It'd be very handy for industry, I think.
Yep.
Great.
Who else we got? Nigel?
Nigel Harris, I believe, is next.
Yes, I have a question regarding products with grandfather rights. We used to make a product. We have continued to make them in very low numbers. A new technology was introduced on those products, which has proven to be unreliable and also has very long lead times. And our customers come back to us and said, can you make these again? We've been in touch with Network Rail and they said you're going to have to go through product approval.
Right.
Now, if we have to go through any form of product approval that doesn't go through the easiest route of the flowchart for DFR, I think it kills it. One of the things that and I'm looking at the flowchart now, grandfather rights, but PA is requested. lead reviewer's opinion, good historic performance. How do we demonstrate that good historic performance?
In relation to DFR, probably Kevin for his expertise on that one.
Yeah, I think you might ask me on that one, Roger. Yeah, with that one, I guess it depends whether it was taken out the catalogue or not. I think Roger might be able to clarify this, but I guess if it stayed in the catalogue, so it was something that had grandfather rights that had never been removed, then I guess it has grandfather rights, and therefore you wouldn't have to go through DFR at all. But I guess if it's been removed from the catalogue, then it no longer has grandfather rights. The grandfather rights disappear, and that's why you're being asked for it to go through again. However, one of the things that you could do here is this would fall into the category of something that was already designed prior to Network Rail stating that they wish to use it. So therefore, that sounds like something that even if it didn't have grandfather rights, you could take down the path for the configurable or commercial off-the-shelf product. Because we have that path where maybe some other railway has used it in the past or some other industry has used it in the past. It's already designed and we want to use it. This is a bit of a weird one because the people who used it in the past are us. But it would still apply. The logic would still stand that this would be considered to be an off-the-shelf product. Therefore, we'd have flexibility in the path we could apply, and it would go through one of the paths for an off-the-shelf product. And I think that might be the most sensible way of taking that product through.
Okay.
Is that a path you considered for that product before?
No, not really, because I don't think. I mean, it's a circuit controller in a level crossing, so I don't really know how we'd get anybody to believe that is an off-the-shelf product.
Because it was already designed and it was already put into use. Yeah. Prior to you being required to use it on the network again. Yeah. There must be some history of the fact that this has been used on the railway previously. The design work was done a long time ago. It's already been used on a railway in the past from the description you gave of it. So therefore, those facts mean that, yeah, it was already designed before we were interested in it.
Okay.
Is that correct? Have I interpreted it correctly?
It helps me get it through DFR as easily as possible, Kevin. Yes, that's the answer I want.
Right. Okay. Get in contact after the call if you want. I'll have a bit more of a chat with you about it. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Dave.
As it takes it off, Mike. Just a question, and I probably think the answer will be no, but having sort of represented a company which is outside of the UK, we find it difficult to access all of the supporting Network Rail guidance documents without paying a further £63 to pull that one down and another one. Is there a way that PA would consider having a portal that had a time limit on it, whereby you could access all the supporting documents that relate to your product approval application and then terminate it at the end, so that it wasn't a free go on to it, log on, download it for free, which I get there's a requirement for a cost, but is there a way that we could have some access to it rather than having to go and keep purchasing them time and time again?
What documents are you referring to? Because standards are free.
Some of the Network Rail guidance ones aren't.
If you can send me a list of what they are, because I'm not familiar with any. I mean, guidance is guidance. And guidance, there's certain standards which are
some of these are the
documents.
standards as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can register that for those free. So, but send me some details and I'll have a look for you.
Okay.
I mean, any other guidance sort of pertaining to our process, specifically to our process, is obviously, as I said before, linked to our space within the Network Rail website.
Okay. Roger, I just dropped the link to how to obtain all the Network Rail standards for free into the chat window.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's actually within one of our guidance documents as well. But yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, might be worth you having a look at that, and if there's anything that you would expect to find but you can't, then give me a call.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Roger.
I believe Neil Dance is next with a question.
Yeah, hi Roger. I've come on video. Thanks for that presentation. I'm just wondering about the costs and funding of putting product acceptance through. I mean, how much does it cost to put a product through, and is there ways that we can look at that and improve that?
Basically, Network Rail regions fund product acceptance. How it's done, I'm not sure. And
it's interesting because when I've been speaking to suppliers, the cost of getting product acceptance is always seen as a barrier to the market. But yeah, I'm
not sure how.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
We don't. I mean, we went through a period quite a number of years ago where we did require a fee for product acceptance, but it's probably been 10 years or more since we stopped doing that.
Okay, so you just find a sponsor through and the sponsor then takes it through.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thanks very much.
Any more hands? Vince.
Hello, thanks for that. Mine's a bit of a future one. I'm just going to post a link in the chat, but it's a really weird one to ask post-Brexit, but whether the work going on with a thing called EU links for different signalling and control applications to standardise and kind of approve with other rail companies, whether any of that evidence or that collaboration will kind of ease some of or reduce some of the steps. So don't expect you to answer it now if you don't know of it, but I've put the link in there just probably for interest and see if something to think about.
Yeah, I think it's something I've heard of but not really seen a lot about thus far, so I can have a look at that and
no worries.
See if it does actually have any impact on what we do.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you very much.
Excellent.
That's it. Cheers.
Anybody else?
Well, David, just chipping in on that comment about EU links, which I think is an interesting look to the future. But I would assume that because effectively it's a European standard, then you would kind of automatically take it on board because you'd be looking to demonstrate whatever you were putting through product acceptance complied with the relevant standards. So I think it would you would automatically deal with it as part of your standards conformity assessment. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's similar to interoperability or anything like that.
Well, it comes under the TSI
right.
Basically.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's all that compatibility. Somebody from Network Rail is part of the group. There's all the companies listed, and somebody is on there. Haven't found out who yet, but it is interoperability. It's standard based on interfaces, so you can hook all your different signaling systems together. I deal with the comms side, so it's just linking all that together.
Yeah. Okay. Definitely have a look at that and discuss it with colleagues involved in that area.
I don't see any more hands up in the chat. Is there anybody else who wants to chip in with a question? We reserved an hour and a half because we didn't know how long the Q&A would go on for, but if there's no more questions, we can wrap up a little bit early. Just while you're thinking of some questions, if anybody is interested in the one-to-one meetings or visit, in fact, could we have a show of hands how many people on the call might be interested in that opportunity? Apart from Mark, who actually had his hand up for a question, I think, but So yes, that's good. So there's quite a bit of interest. I'm seeing 8, 9, 11. Okay.
So Sam,
Okay.
are you going to take a record of the 11 that have expressed
So
interest?
I'm going to politely request that they email myself and Roger in the first instance, just after this call, saying something like "visit, please" in the subject line, and then we'll get in touch.
Cool.
But yes, I think just before that, Mark had his hand up for a question.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Mark Simpson. I just wondered if you could have a go at answering the following question, because it's as a civil CRE and innovation lead on TransPennine route upgrade, I understand completely the situation, but the whole cable containment of composite troughs situation, where we've got one particular product, and I'm not going to mention names, that is susceptible to fires, that's tainting the rest of the products. And it's not helping, because we're wanting more than one. This one great product that we're currently using is imported from Japan, and we're trying to lower carbon emissions, etc. And we've got a British product that is currently restricted for use in HV compounds only, that I want them to make another size, but they obviously aren't going to invest in that unless we can use it elsewhere. And it's sort of like a continuing situation where we could do with someone grabbing hold of it, and I'm sure somebody is, but do you know any more on that situation?
No, not really. No, not that specific type of item. I know we've had several applications over the last few years that relate to GLP troughing.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I can do a bit of digging to see which ones were approved. Because I think there's more than one.
There is. One particular problem we've got on that's affecting TransPennine. Last year, we couldn't, because of all the problem with lockdown and everything, we were having supply chain issues, which I'm sure you'll be aware of. And the only products that we could get hold of that the maintainer would be happy for us to use was an unproven product in this country. It's been used on Deutsche Bahn, etc. And we put an approval in for a trial of this product, the Terra system, just so we could use it at Holbeck to be able to commission this section of TransPennine in time. They won't sign it off because the trial acceptance still hasn't been sorted out, and it would be fantastic if we could try and look into sorting that out.
Yeah, who have you?
We got our sponsor was Scott Meadley from Network Rail. I think it was nearly 2 years ago we put the application in.
Is Scott still about?
He is, yeah.
And yeah, because it sounds like
Fraser's been working on it, and I totally understand the situation of it. It's really hard, but we could really do with someone trying to get hold of it.
So I take it still waiting for the evidence from the trial or something like that.
No, the trial was it was a full installation of this product. Right. I've inspected the whole route. Several other people have. The signalling RAMs accepted it, but they won't sign it off until this application's been closed out. So it's one for another forum, really, but it's connected to other things as well. So we could just do with it closing out.
If you send me the product acceptance reference number of it, I'll have a bit of digging for you.
Certainly. Thanks very much.
Okay. I think we've still got a couple of hands up. Angie? Oh, hands have gone down.
Oh, sorry, that was just I'd like a one-to-one.
Okay.
I'm just in the process of emailing you now.
Fair enough. Dave Stedman.
Yeah, again, this was a hands up for a
visit.
Okay. So I shall get in touch with you afterwards. I don't think I'll be the last one.
Yeah. So as we said beginning, it'd be a first come first serve basis, and that'll probably be difficult because you probably all send the email at the same time. But you know, say where we can't table a physical visit, we'll set something up.
I've popped those email addresses in the chat then, just for everybody's benefit. So it's just myself, Sam Bement at RIA GB, and Roger Moore at Network Rail. So if there's any more comments or questions on the call for Roger? No, all good. Okay, so I think we're probably good to bring the session to a close. Thank you very much, Roger.
Welcome.
Much appreciated coming along here, and much appreciated as well working with us at RIA on this little initiative. Hopefully it will bring huge benefit to our members and to the process and its knowledge of the process going forwards. So thank you very much, everybody on the call, and we will see you later.
Cheers, Roger. Appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Thanks
Thank you all
everyone.
for attending.
Thanks everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Right.